we're going to focus on the King's Stand Stakes. 23 runners here in this 5 past 3 at Ascot. 5 furlongs, of course, is the trip. It's part of the British Champion Series and Global Sprint Challenge. Plenty of familiar names in there, headed by Amour Propre, the favourite, Bated Breath, who will come out of stall number 8. A few others. Margot did. Had a really good season last season. Hortensia, winner in Meydan last time, coming from stall 5. Wizkid, who's been widely touted, who's coming out of stall 15. And Bated Breath with Coral is 92 favourite. Hortensia 5s. 5's Wizkid and 9 to 1 Soul Power. Little Bridges 10s. 12's Joy and Fun. Prohibit 16s. 20's Tangerine Trees. Spirit Quartz 25s. And so is Margot did. 33's Barlows.
Right, Royal Ascot kicks off tomorrow, kicks off with Frankel. But let's take a look at the King's Stand. 23 runners over 5 furlongs, and Bated Breath, Mark, is the horse on everybody's lips, really. And really, because of the ground, or the sort of the unknown about the ground, how soft it is, whether they'll get rain, further rain overnight, you know, how he'll cope with it.
Well, it's a huge question mark for tomorrow, isn't it? Yeah. Everybody's been looking forward to seeing him at Royal Ascot after that. I thought it was a devastating performance at Haydock. I know he didn't win by far, but everybody's looking forward to it. But there is that question mark about the ground. His best form is undoubtedly on quick ground. He's got form on good ground, but they've had the rain overnight. He's got the entry in the Golden Jubilee, but you get the impression Connections are keen to run tomorrow.
Let's take a look at the Temple Stakes, because he was pretty good. He was very slick, and Soul Power is the horse who chases him home. But there were 2 or 3 others here, Mark, who take him on again tomorrow as well. And nothing got a blow in. Nothing travelled better than him through the race as well.
It just travelled like a class act, they stayed, didn't they? We knew he was good from last season, second in 3 Group 1 races, very narrowly beaten on all 3 occasions. This was only the second time in his career he tried 5 furlongs, but significantly it was the first time he tried it on quick ground, broke the course record, travelled so strongly into the race, took over from the likes of Tangerine Trees. I know you can argue the Soul Power was slightly unlucky, got stuck in behind, but I think the best horse won the race. I think he won with a bid in hand. I think there's a slight doubt about Soul Power lining up tomorrow. Eddie Lynham expressed reservations this morning. He's definitely concerned because, again, he's a quick ground horse. But let's just hope it dries out, it gets back to good ground for tomorrow, because I think if it does, it'll be tough to beat.
Yeah, Soul Power's probably even more ground dependent than Bated Breath. Did Bated Breath surprise you slightly with the actual pace he showed from start to finish at Haydock?
I think he surprised me. I think he surprised a lot of people, just because I know it's only a drop back of a furlong, but it's a different type of tempo in a race, isn't it?
Yeah, the rhythm's totally
compared
different.
To a 6 furlong race. But he just didn't have any problems. And if you're into running betting, I'm sure he was short all the way through. He just travelled like such a good horse. I think the only surprising thing was the winning margin wasn't wider.
What's your gut feeling about him and the ground?
I think he'll end up running, and I think they'll probably take a bit of a chance and hoping it isn't too testing. He's a year older than he was last year. The only time he tried it over 5 last year, that was on good to soft at York, and I think that definitely caught him out. So I think they'll take a chance and hopefully he'll get away with it.
Let's take a look at some of the opposition. Hortensia is probably one of the main challengers here. A triple Group 1 winner, the latest of those in Meydan. She's very good.
She's been a very good mare over the years. She's an experienced mare. She's a 7-year-old. She's had 30 races in her life. She's won 11 times and she's won 3 Group 1s. So that tells you what quality she possesses. This was in the Alquoz at Meydan. Again, she had a few of likely rivals tomorrow in behind Soul Power, Joy and Fun. This was her first run over 5 since March 2009, but again she seemed to cope with it well enough. Craig Williams seems to get on really well with the mare as well. You've got to respect her record over 5 is 4 from 5. Yeah.
She's a really professional mare, this as well, and she seems to just take whatever's thrown at her.
Well, she's got plenty of experience, hasn't she? I suppose on the other side of the coin, she's a 7-year-old, and she could well be vulnerable to something like Bated Breath. I know he's 5, but he's relatively speaking, hasn't had a lot of racing during his career, so I suspect she just could be vulnerable to 1 or 2 of the more likely raced horses.
But then again, we could have gone into this race 12 months ago, Mark, and said perhaps much the same about Prohibit,
Yeah.
who went and won, and all credit to him. But sometimes the older horses and the gnarled, sort of hardened horses do very, very well in this race.
They do, yeah, and she's definitely not out of place there tomorrow. You don't fluke 3 Group 1 winners during her career as well. She's had plenty of racing. It'll be a different type of test for her tomorrow, coming over to Ascot, see how she copes with the occasion, etc. But she's very professional. She's got plenty of experience.
She certainly has. One horse who will have no ground worries tomorrow, indeed if it is on the softer side, is Wizkid. And I know Graham Cunningham was quite keen on this French challenger from a little while back.
Well, she's a really good filly on her day. There's no doubt about that. She's got form over 5. She's got form over 6 furlongs. We saw her in the UK a couple of times last season. I thought she was slightly unlucky in the Nunthorpe when she was probably drawn on the wrong side. We saw her in October at Ascot as well. She ran on strongly behind Deacon Blues, and I think she proved at Chantilly last time out. She's got the speed for 5.
Yeah, she's a really good filly. Let's take a look at her in action. And she's particularly effective when she's getting her toe in as well, Mark.
Well, I think the only doubt coming into this race, with a view to the big races over 5 later in the season, would she be quite quick enough? But you'll see her come down the outside now, and by the time she gets in front, she's firmly on top. She beats, there's Hamish McGonagall's in there, Prohibit was in there, Stepper Point, who also runs tomorrow, of Willie Muir's. But as you can see, she's well on top there, isn't she, at the finish? She's got experience of racing in England. She will definitely appreciate a bit of cutting the ground. It's one of those either-ors for me. If it's good or quicker, I'd be very keen on Bated Breath, but I think if it's good to soft, or even slower than that, I think she'll take some beating.
She's been quite popular in the market.
Well, I don't think that's a surprise, is it? Just in the lead up to the race, because there's been plenty of rain about. Towards the end of last week, everybody was expecting officially soft ground, so she was the obvious one to go towards. She's got form in the good races. She's got form at Ascot. She should be thereabouts.
John Best has always thought the world of Stoner Folker, and he came good for a big prize at Epsom last time out. Admittedly, this was in handicap company, but it was a fiercely competitive handicap. This was the Epsom Dash, and he did it in good style.
Well, it was a good performance. Well, it's a good performance to win a race like the Epsom Dash, but it's an even better performance when you overcome such a wide draw. Came from stall 2 here, white sleeves, white cap with the noseband, stays on strongly to beat Desert Law, one of Andrew Balding's. Won this off a rating of 93. He's now 100, which tells you he's still got a good bit to find. He's been to Royal Ascot 3 times in the past. We ran in a Windsor Castle and a Norfolk as a 2-year-old, but he was well beaten in the race last year. I think he probably would appreciate drying ground. I think he's improved since being gelded, but would that be good enough to win a King's Stand? It's a big step up.
Yeah, it certainly is a big step up. Good to firm, of course, it was on Derby Day at Epsom as well. So different conditions to contend with this afternoon. The big thing, 23 runners, Mark. Wide track at Ascot. And the big thing is, where's the pace coming from? Low, middle, high? What have you determined there?
Well, I've tried to write down where the speed will come, and I'm hoping, all being well, it will be across the board, as you can see, towards the far side, i.e. the low numbers. Tangerine Trees like to get on with things. Stepper Point hasn't led this season, but he led in France last season. Pontier Claim's usually fairly prominent, and Little Bridge as well. You've got Hamish McGonagall up the middle. Now, Margot hasn't been leading this season, but she was fairly prominent in the Nunthorpe last season, and she's got the visor on for the first time. So I just wonder if that'll rev her up, and she might provide pace up the middle. And far side, Massamar, he likes to get on with things, doesn't he? And Amora Prop's fairly prominent as well. So hopefully it'll be an even spread.
Do you feel that and this is a $64,000 question, but do you feel that the winner will be one of those that race up with a pace or a closer?
I think it'll be one of those that just sits in behind the leaders. I think with Bated Breath, I'm sure he'll race similar to Haydock last time out. He got a good toe into the race from Tangerine Trees. I think he's drawn 6 tomorrow, and Tangerine Trees is his 9. So again, hopefully we'll get a similar lead into the race. Wizkid's a filly who's held up. That's the way she races. I don't think that will change tomorrow. It could be Bated Breath might get first runner on her, and we'll see what happens from there.
As things stand at this moment in time, we're 24 hours ahead of the big race, what do you think will win?
Well, if it stays good to soft, I'd go with Wizkid, but if it dries out to good, I'd go Bated Breath.
Yeah, fantastic race for the King's Stand. 23 runners, 5 furlongs, and no questions asked, no favours given. It'll be one crackerjack of a heat.